Quentin Owens reclined in his leather chair, gazing at the pile of customer complaints that loomed on his desk. The company, a fast food chain boasting 14 locations, was intended to be recognized for its commitment to quality service and high employee morale. Recently, there has been a growing accumulation of accounts regarding impolite staff, exhausted employees, and ineffective management. 7 years prior, he acquired the chain, transforming it from a struggling venture into a thriving enterprise. However, as the organization expanded, he began to take a step back, depending on district managers and reports to ensure operations continued to run seamlessly. At this moment, he found himself questioning whether that had truly been a wise decision. One concern caught my attention. A cashier who is expecting was allegedly subjected to humiliation by her manager in front of customers at one of his locations. The specifics were unclear, yet it was evident that something was amiss. Quentin was unfamiliar with the employees at this particular store. Despite having 14 locations and an established corporate structure, the majority of employees were unaware of the owner's identity. He resolved to witness it firsthand. He had to assume a hidden identity. The following morning, Quentin made his way to the restaurant, dressed in a worn hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap. His typically neat-shaven face was now adorned with light stubble, and he had traded his usual polished demeanor for a more relaxed attitude. He submitted his application as a trainee using the name Ben. The store was understaffed, which raised yet another concern, making it relatively easy to secure a position immediately. As he crossed the threshold, an unsettling vibe immediately struck him. Workers appeared exhausted, shuffling about as if merely enduring the shift. Patrons endured an excessive wait for their meals, and then there was the manager, Derek. Derek, in his mid-40s, wore a constant scowl and spoke with an air of impatience. He issued commands while fixated on his phone, hardly recognizing anyone unless it was to point out their faults. Quentin tended to the grill initially, silently taking in the scene around him. Several hours into his shift, a voice drew his focus. "Derek, I really just need a moment to sit down. My back is really bothering me." Quentin pivoted and noticed a young woman positioned at the register. She had a noticeable pregnancy glow, her hand gently cradling her belly as she leaned softly against the counter. Her name tag displayed Olivia Adams. Derek let out a derisive laugh. "You're expecting, not in peril. If you find it difficult to stand for a few hours, perhaps this job isn't the right fit for you." Quentin sensed a tension in his jaw. "I just need a quick break," Olivia said, her voice steady yet tinged with tension. "I've been standing all shift," Derek sighed in exasperation. "And that's the compensation you receive. Seeking special treatment due to poor life decisions is unwarranted." A handful of patrons glanced over. Silence enveloped the kitchen. Olivia's cheeks turned a deep shade of crimson as she cast her gaze downward, unmistakably mortified. Quentin experienced a powerful wave of frustration. He understood the necessity of silence in this moment, yet his hands balled into tight fists. "I'll take care of the register for a bit," Quentin offered, moving closer. "She deserves a moment of respite." Derek glanced at him, his eyes narrowing with intensity. "Those decisions aren't yours to make, rookie, I just thought," Derek snapped. "You don't think. Follow my instructions." Olivia inhaled sharply, her eyes fluttering as if she were battling the urge to cry. That was the end. Quentin had reached his limit. He inhaled deeply, then lifted his cap off his head. "Actually, Derek, I am the one who makes the calls," Derek frowned. "Excuse me? I am the sole owner of this entire company." Quentin's voice resonated with authority, steady and resolute. "And you have just committed the gravest error of your professional life." All at once, the restaurant fell into a hush. The workforce ceased their tasks, while patrons looked on in silence. Olivia's eyes grew large with astonishment. Derek's mouth parted, then fell shut. Quentin crossed his arms, a skeptical look on his face. "Do I seem like I'm joking?" Derek's face went pale. The truth of the matter finally dawned on him. Quentin cast a fleeting look at Olivia. "Please take a seat." "Take as much time as you need," she said, hesitating for a moment before nodding and stepping away from the register. Quentin glanced at Derek again, his demeanor icy. Let's have a conversation, right away. Derek's complexion drained, his mouth parted, yet silence enveloped him. His fingers danced restlessly at his sides, as though he were seeking a means to reclaim authority over the unfolding events. Quentin denied him the opportunity. He gestured toward the door that led to the back office and stepped through it, not pausing to check if Derek would come along. He was certain he would. In the tight confines of the office, Quentin rested against the desk, his arms folded across his chest. Derek remained rigid by the door, his jaw tightly set. "Take a seat," Quentin instructed. Derek paused for a moment, then settled into the chair across from him. He fidgeted, his knee jittering restlessly. Quentin allowed the silence to linger. He aimed for Derek to sense its gravity. At last, Derek let out a sharp breath. "Listen, I wasn't aware of your identity. Had I known," Quentin interrupted him, "it ought to be irrelevant who I am. That's the issue at hand." Derek gulped. Quentin revealed that he had arrived incognito due to an overwhelming number of complaints regarding this location. "Now I understand the reason behind it. The atmosphere you fostered is detrimental. Workers are worn out, clients are irritated, and you regard others as if they are inferior." Derek's lips formed a tight, straight line. "You embarrassed Olivia in front of customers. You belittled her for requesting a simple accommodation. From my observations, this appears to be part of a larger pattern." Derek's nostrils expanded. "This role moves at a rapid pace. If individuals are unable to cope with the demands, they have no place in this environment." Quentin's gaze grew intense. "Leadership is not about driving individuals to their limits. It's all about ensuring they possess the necessary tools for success." Derek scoffed. "You don't lead, you control. What comes next? Are you going to let me go?" Quentin examined him closely. "I ought to." Derek tensed. "However, I would like to clarify something initially," Quentin remarked. "What is the reason behind your treatment of your staff? What do you gain from it?" Derek's jaw moved rhythmically as he fixated on a particular spot on the desk. The quiet lingered once more. At last, he let out a breath. "Text." "This place is in disarray," he murmured, "perpetually lacking adequate personnel. Employees leave regularly, and the company struggles to fill those vacancies in a timely manner. Indeed, I challenge them rigorously. Because if I don't, everything here crumbles," Quentin insisted. "Such actions cannot be excused by any reasoning. That situation could have been approached with a fundamental level of respect." Derek's hands balled into tight fists. "Honor? Do you really believe these kids have any respect for me? They show no concern for this position. They arrive after the scheduled time, take it easy, and anticipate being pampered. If I don't maintain order, nothing gets accomplished." Quentin's gaze remained steady. "What do you believe drives them to leave so frequently?" Derek's expression shifted for the briefest moment, yet that was all it took. Quentin inclined his body, eager and attentive. "You believe you're the glue that keeps this place intact, yet you're the very force causing it to unravel." Derek remained silent. Quentin stated that he would examine all the details thoroughly before arriving at his final conclusion. "At this moment, your suspension is in effect." Derek's head jerked upward. "Excuse me? It's essential to evaluate the circumstances thoroughly before determining the next steps. For now, you're out." Derek's lips formed a tight line, yet he chose not to contest it. He rose suddenly and exited the office in silence. Quentin retraced his steps, re-entering the restaurant. Olivia sat at a booth by the window, her hands gently placed on her stomach. She glanced upward as he drew near, a hint of doubt dancing in her gaze. "How are you doing?" Quentin inquired. She paused briefly before giving a nod. "I find myself quite taken aback. To my surprise, someone actually took a stand for me." Quentin was seated right across from her. "That ought not to be the situation. Everyone deserves to feel secure and valued in their workplace," she said with conviction. "Derek has been that way since I began, and it's even more pronounced now. Yet many endure it for the sake of the paycheck, causing Quentin's chest to tighten. He's currently suspended, and I'll be implementing some changes here. Olivia's shoulders relaxed, a wave of relief washing over her. "I want to hear from you," Quentin expressed. "What's truly happening in this location? What other things have slipped through my fingers?" She paused, as though cautious about revealing too much, yet gradually she began to speak. Quentin absorbed every word as Olivia elaborated on the challenges afflicting the restaurant. She began to speak with hesitation, wary of revealing too much, but as she sensed his true attentiveness, her words flowed more easily. The restaurant faced a shortage of staff, not due to corporate hiring issues, but rather because employees were unwilling to remain in their positions. New employees seldom remained for more than a few weeks before deciding to leave. The individuals who stayed were either too eager for a salary to depart or had resigned themselves to the belief that things would never get better. Derek's approach to management was not merely strict, it was unyielding. He arranged for individuals to work extended shifts beyond their designated hours, refused to grant time off even when it had been pre-approved, and consistently overlooked issues related to safety and workload. The kitchen frequently found itself lacking sufficient staff, resulting in hurried food preparation and a multitude of errors. When customers voiced their complaints, Derek shifted the blame onto the workers, occasionally reducing their hours and pay for what he deemed carelessness. Quentin's demeanor shifted to one of shadow and gloom. The organization maintained firm regulations prohibiting wage deductions of that nature. If Derek had been involved, he would have been violating company policies and perhaps even legal statutes. Olivia paused, contemplating whether to mention that Derek frequently showed favoritism. Certain employees consistently received the most undesirable shifts, while others, those who never dared to challenge him, were permitted to be lax without facing any repercussions. Concerns regarding this issue consistently fell on deaf ears. The district manager, tasked with overseeing several locations, seldom made visits and consistently favored Derek's account over that of the employees. Quentin had reached his limit. He expressed his gratitude to Olivia for her candor and promised her that there would be a transformation. With her settled in repose, he ventured into the kitchen, observing the staff as they busily went about their tasks. With Derek's departure, the atmosphere had lightened a bit, yet the weariness lingered. Unmistakably, he walked over to a young man grilling burgers, who glanced up with a cautious expression. Quentin inquired about the duration of his employment there. The young man mentioned that it had been nearly a year, which, based on what Olivia had shared with him, positioned him as one of the longest-serving employees. Quentin delved deeper, inquiring about the reasons behind his decision to remain while so many had departed. The young man paused, then confessed that he lacked the means to depart. He faced mounting bills and found himself with no other options. He had sought out other employment opportunities, yet most establishments were not recruiting, and he couldn't afford the luxury of waiting for a more favorable option. Quentin inquired about ways to enhance the job experience. The response arrived promptly with due regard. Individuals desired recognition and acknowledgement of their significance. The compensation left much to be desired, yet they could manage, as long as they didn't feel like they were being ground down and discarded after each shift. Quentin acknowledged with a nod, then shifted his gaze to take in the rest of the team. In the absence of Derek's watchful presence, they flowed more freely, offering assistance to one another as required. It became evident that they were not the issue that Derek had been. As his shift drew to a close, Quentin had amassed sufficient information to grasp the complete narrative. The restaurant was plagued by more than just an ineffective manager. The system was flawed. Derek had been given free rein for far too long, and the district manager had neglected to step in. That failure was also attributed to Quentin. He relied on reports rather than verifying the facts himself, allowing the situation to worsen as a result. He was determined to put an end to it. The following morning, Quentin made his way to the restaurant accompanied by a small team from corporate. The staff appeared anxious initially, but he swiftly calmed their fears, assuring them that they were not in any trouble. He assembled them in the dining area prior to the restaurant's opening. Derek was absent. His suspension remained in place. Quentin took the opportunity to introduce the members of the corporate team, clarifying that their purpose was to address the issues that had been overlooked for an extended period. He tackled the issue of wage deductions initially, emphasizing that anyone who had funds unjustly removed from their paychecks would receive compensation. He proceeded to scheduling, assuring a comprehensive review to guarantee equity. At last, he declared that Derek would not be coming back. The establishment required guidance rather than domination, and he couldn't permit an individual who had wronged the team to remain in a position of authority. The employees remained silent, yet a palpable change swept through the room. Shoulders eased, glances were shared, some reflecting relief, others hinting at cautious hope. Quentin had more to say. He expressed his intention to take a hands-on approach in choosing a new manager, someone who truly grasped the importance of leading with respect. In the meantime, a temporary manager from a nearby area would take over. He concluded by stating that his visit had served as a wake-up call. He believed everything was progressing without a hitch, yet that belief proved to be misguided. As he progressed, he planned to conduct surprise visits to every location, not in his capacity as CEO, but as an individual eager to witness the true state of his business up close. As the staff began to scatter, Olivia made her way toward him. She expressed her gratitude, yet he declined, insisting that it was she who had unveiled the truth. Before departing, he cast a final glance around. The restaurant continued to face challenges, yet for the first time, there was a sense that progress was being made. This time he would ensure they remained just as they were. Quentin lingered at the restaurant for several days, collaborating closely with the staff. With Derek no longer present, the ambiance transformed. Dialogue unfolded with greater ease. Individuals weren't perpetually glancing back in apprehension. The oppressive atmosphere that had burdened the store began to dissipate. Nevertheless, the issues remained unresolved even after the removal of a single ineffective leader. The fundamental problems had to be tackled, and Quentin refused to depend on hearsay once more. Initially, he took a close look at the scheduling system. Workers found themselves navigating erratic shifts, frequently receiving their schedules with little notice. Some were compelled to work extra hours unexpectedly, while others struggled to secure sufficient hours to cover their basic needs. He settled in with the assistant manager, a seasoned woman named Carla, who had dedicated years to the company and meticulously examined the system line by line. Carla acknowledged that she previously had minimal influence over the scheduling. Derek managed it on his own, frequently altering shifts at the last moment or disregarding requests entirely. Quentin promised her that from now on, schedules would be made available 2 weeks ahead of time, along with a straightforward procedure for requesting time off. He then took a closer look at the staffing levels of the restaurant. It was evident that additional assistance was required. He contacted corporate and expedited the hiring process, making sure that new team members would be brought on board to alleviate the workload. In the interim, he coordinated for provisional assistance from surrounding areas. Amidst the bustling lunch rush, he leaped behind the grill to lend a hand, expertly flipping burgers and assembling meals in harmony with the kitchen crew. He witnessed directly the extent of their overwhelm. Orders piled up rapidly, and with insufficient personnel to manage the flow, errors occurred. Customers became increasingly restless. It wasn't solely about bringing in additional staff. It was essential to ensure they received the appropriate training and support. Once the frenzy subsided, Quentin settled in with Olivia. Since Derek's departure, she remained silent, cautious about embracing the possibility of genuine change. She confessed that she had been searching for a new job prior to the events that unfolded. The pressure of the workplace had been taking a toll on her well-being, yet her choices were limited. At that moment, uncertainty clouded her thoughts. Quentin inquired about what could persuade her to remain. She paused for a moment, then expressed that it wasn't a matter of compensation or time, but rather about feeling appreciated. She sought a place where individuals were valued and not seen as mere replaceable components. He assured her that he comprehended. As the week drew to a close, Quentin assembled the team once again. He detailed the modifications underway, ranging from the updated scheduling policies to the recruitment initiatives. He also declared that Carla would be taking on the role of interim manager. Her experience and the team's respect were undeniable, and he had complete faith in her ability to lead with fairness. Prior to his departure, he had a final conversation with Olivia. He assured her that should she ever sense the store reverting to its previous ways, she could reach out to him directly. At last, after all this time, a smile graced her lips. It may not have been a grand smile, but it carried authenticity. As Quentin stepped out of the restaurant, he realized that mending just one spot wouldn't suffice. If this was occurring right under his nose, one could only speculate how many other stores faced similar problems. He had crafted this company to stand apart. The moment had arrived to confirm its authenticity. Quentin exited the restaurant that evening, aware that the surface flames had been extinguished, yet the more profound journey was only starting. He had witnessed the flaws in the system up close, and that realization expanded his duties well beyond this single place. If Derek had been permitted to manage without oversight, how many other managers might have been functioning in a similar manner? What is the number of employees within his company facing challenges due to ineffective leadership? Upon returning to his office, he convened a meeting with his executive team, which included the regional directors tasked with managing various locations. He bypassed the niceties. "I went incognito at one of our locations," he remarked, surveying the surroundings, "and what I discovered was intolerable. Workers faced excessive demands, a lack of respect, and in certain instances, blatant exploitation. This was not an isolated event. It reflects a breakdown in leadership across various tiers. A few of the directors adjusted their positions in their seats. A handful of exchanged glances revealed an unmistakable sense of unease. A man named Greg cleared his throat. "Quentin, if I may, these stores operate on narrow margins and managers must make difficult decisions to ensure everything runs smoothly. At times, this involves encouraging employees to stretch beyond their comfort zones." Quentin's gaze remained unwavering. Encouraging employees to perform is one thing, but belittling them, depriving them of reasonable schedules and reducing their wages is entirely different. "Are you suggesting that you find that acceptable?" Greg paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "No, but what do you mean?" Quentin interrupted. "From my perspective, it seems like you're justifying a harmful environment, and if you were aware of this situation and chose to remain inactive, then you contribute to the issue." The room was enveloped in silence. Another director, Lisa, inclined, her body slightly forward. "Text, I had no idea things were that bad," she confessed. "Yet I can't say I'm shocked. We depend on managers to bring issues to light, but if they are the source of those problems, they are unlikely to admit it themselves." "Precisely," Quentin remarked, "which is why we require a fresh perspective. Starting now, we are initiating a comprehensive evaluation of management practices at all locations. This entails conducting anonymous employee surveys, making unannounced site visits, and establishing direct feedback channels that circumvent store leadership." Greg let out a sharp breath. "This is bound to cause significant upheaval." "Excellent," Quentin retorted. "If upheaval is necessary to bring about change, then let it be so." A woman named Dana, one of the HR representatives, nodded in acknowledgement. "We can begin crafting the survey questions immediately, but what comes next for stores that exhibit significant problems? Are we discussing retraining, or are we ready to make some significant changes?" Quentin acted without a moment's pause. Both options are valid. If there's an opportunity to enhance leadership skills in managers through coaching, we will pursue it. If they've crossed the line, they're done. I will not allow anyone in a position of authority who believes that mistreating employees is acceptable behavior. The discussion extended for an additional hour as they meticulously navigated the intricacies. As it drew to a close, Quentin experienced a surge of energy he hadn't encountered in years. He had remained aloof for far too long, placing his faith in figures and analyses rather than truly understanding the essence of his business. That chapter has closed. After a fortnight, the initial batch of anonymous surveys was returned. The outcome fell short of his expectations. Multiple stores reported that managers displayed similar patterns of behavior as Derek, including bullying employees, disregarding scheduling requests, and fostering environments with extremely high turnover rates. Numerous sites faced safety issues that were overlooked. One establishment even faced allegations of staff putting in hours without pay simply to fulfill demands. Quentin acted without hesitation. He made his way to each of the underperforming stores, entering without prior notice, just as he had done previously. The responses were revealing. Some managers rushed to maintain a composed demeanor, while others struggled to conceal their annoyance at his presence. At a certain place, a manager named Tom attempted to explain his actions. It seems these young ones aren't fully committed to their responsibilities. If I don't urge them, nothing moves forward. Quentin interrupted him before he could complete his thought. You're dismissed, Tom blinked. Is it really that simple? In an instant, Quentin remarked. Gather your belongings. In a different shop, a manager by the name of Rachel exhibited a defensive demeanor. The turnover rate is elevated as the position may not suit everyone. If they are unable to cope, they depart. That's not my responsibility. Quentin crossed his arms. Your role is not to bring unhappiness to others. The goal is to operate a store where employees can perform their duties with respect and dignity. Your attempt did not succeed. Your work here is complete. By the month's conclusion, 4 managers were let go. Some individuals were assigned to probation and required to undergo leadership training. However, the focus extended beyond merely ousting ineffective leaders. It was equally crucial to install the appropriate successors. Quentin took the time to personally interview candidates for the open positions, seeking individuals who recognized that true leadership is rooted in support rather than control. He consistently elevated individuals from within the organization, providing opportunities to those who had demonstrated their commitment yet had not previously been afforded the chance to progress. At one site, he encountered a shift supervisor named Marcus, who had been subtly maintaining order in the midst of a manager's ineptitude. Quentin extended the promotion to him immediately. Marcus paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. Do you really think so? Quentin acknowledged, I've never held the position of a store manager before. I have no doubt. You've been managing this place all along. You just haven't received the recognition or compensation that reflects it. That transformation begins now. By the conclusion of the quarter, the company had undergone a remarkable transformation. Employee satisfaction scores have risen, turnover rates have decreased. Customers observed that the service was quicker, orders were more precise, and the stores radiated a more vibrant atmosphere. Quentin ensured the alterations endured. He persisted with surprise visits, appearing at unexpected places to witness events firsthand. He established a direct channel for employees to voice their concerns anonymously, guaranteeing that no one would ever feel cornered by a poor manager again. One afternoon, he visited the first restaurant, the place where it all began. Olivia continued her journey at the establishment, now stepping into the role of lead cashier. Upon catching sight of him entering, a smile spread across her face. He inquired about the progress of events. She informed him that circumstances had shifted. Workers felt empowered to voice their opinions now. The timetables were reasonable. New employees were sticking around beyond their initial weeks. Quentin nodded, a sense of fulfillment washing over him. He paused for a moment, glancing back before he departed. Have you ever considered management? She chuckled. Perhaps someday, he smiled. Whenever you feel prepared, just give me a shout. As Quentin stepped outside, he realized that this was more than merely mending a damaged shop. It was about ensuring that everyone in his company would never feel devoid of power again.